If you are looking at Lucerne Grand because it's right beside Lakeside MRT, near Jurong Lake Gardens and sitting within the Jurong Lake District transformation, I want you to stop for a moment. Because all these things are true, but everyone knows them. And if everyone already knows Jurong Lake District's story, where exactly is your investment upside coming from? That's the part I think buyers need to understand. Because I've seen so many buyers buy a very good development but still end up with an average investment. Not because the project was bad. They simply entered at the wrong price or choose the wrong unit. So instead of telling you 10 reasons why Lucerne Grand is fantastic, I'm going to look at this from an investor's perspective. There are 5 questions I want answered before I would consider buying here. Let's start with the obvious. Lucerne Grand has a very strong location story. You are right beside Lakeside MRT, you get onto the east-west line and you are connected towards Jurong East, Buona Vista and eventually the CBD. Then you have Jurong Lake Gardens nearby and of course the biggest story surrounds this whole area, Jurong Lake District. So for own stay, honestly, there's a lot to like here. Connectivity, lifestyle, transformation, the location story is compelling. But everyone already knows this. So if I'm looking at Lucerne Grand from an investment perspective, I cannot simply ask, will Jurong Lake District transform? Because we already know there's a major transformation story here. The question I'm more interested in is this. How much of that future am I already paying for today? Because government transformation does not automatically equal property profits. For me, it comes down to 4 things. Transformation, entry price, time, and exit price. Imagine an area has tremendous potential, but everyone already knows it. If I enter too high today, I might be actually paying for tomorrow's transformation up front. And if that happens, even if Jurong transforms exactly the way we expect, it doesn't necessarily mean I am making a good return. So now, let's look at the numbers. The Lucerne Grand site was acquired for approximately 608 million. Based on the figures we are looking at here, the estimated total development cost is around 1.115 billion, which puts the estimated break-even at approximately 2,081 PSF per plot ratio. Now, if Lucerne Grand potentially starts somewhere around 2,450 per square feet, with an average eventually moving into the 2,600 range, this is where I start paying attention. Because at 2,450 per square feet, we already roughly paid 370 PSF above the estimated break-even. At 2,600 per square feet, we're roughly 520 PSF above it. Does that automatically mean Lucerne is expensive? No. Developers absolutely need margins and different projects can command different premiums. But as the buyer, I need to understand what I'm paying that premium for. And sometimes PSF doesn't sound like a lot until you convert into actual dollars. Take a 1,000 square foot equivalent at 2,450 PSF. That's approximately 2.45 million. At 2,650 per square feet, that's approximately 2.65 million. That's a 200,000 difference from a 200 PSF movement. So now my question changes. It's no longer, do I like Lucerne Grand? My question becomes, if I enter at 2,600 plus PSF today, where does my future buyer need to enter for me to achieve a meaningful return? Because the higher I enter, the higher my eventual exit needs to be. Now let's compare it with Sora. Its site was acquired for approximately 402 million. That's an estimated break-even shown here at 1,647 PSF. Lucerne Grand, approximately 2,081 per square feet. That's already about 434 PSF difference in estimated break-even. So naturally, I would expect Lucerne to sell higher. But how much higher? That's why it becomes interesting. Look at Sora's transaction range shown here. We have transactions from around 1.22 million at 1,688 PSF, going up to approximately 3.964 million at 2,182 per square feet. So now I have a benchmark. If Lucerne Grand eventually averages somewhere around 2,006 per square feet, I could be potentially paying several hundred thousands more per square foot compared with some of the transactions we are seeing at Sora. So what exactly am I getting for that premium? Lakeside MRT, better connectivity, different product, the Jurong Lake District positioning. These are all legitimate advantages, but remember, I need to quantify them. Because several $100s per square foot can eventually become several $100,000 at the unit level. And whatever premium I'm paying today, I eventually need someone else to recognize that potential when I sell. Let's take a look at Lake Garden Residences. This comparison gets even more interesting because Lake Garden Residences has an estimated break-even of approximately 2,073 PSF and Lucerne Grand approximately 2,081. That's only about $8 PSF apart. It's almost the same estimated cost base, and that's why Lake Garden becomes a very useful benchmark for me and for you. Now look at the transactions shown here. We have transactions from approximately 1,900 PSF with an average around 2,100 PSF. And then at the upper end, we are seeing approximately 2,556 per square feet. And now let's compare that with Lucerne potentially averaging somewhere in the 2,006 PSF range. Suddenly, I can start pulling a number together around Lucerne's premium. One of the most obvious differences is location. Lucerne is right beside Lakeside MRT, so rather than simply telling myself MRT is good, I want to ask, how much am I actually paying for that MRT advantage? If I'm paying 100 PSF more on a 1,000 square feet unit, that's 100,000 more. If I'm paying 200 PSF more, that's 200,000 more. So my question isn't simply whether being beside MRT is valuable or not. My question will be, will my future buyer value it enough to pay me that premium back? Because price is only one part of the story, I also want to understand buyers' acceptance. Look at these two developments. At the point these numbers were captured, Sora had 440 units, with roughly half sold and roughly half still available. Now look at Lake Garden, around 306 units, and at this point these figures were captured, it was almost completely sold. So I will ask why? Why did buyers respond so differently? Was it price? Was it location? Unit mix, timing, or was it a product? Believe me, Sora is so much more beautiful than Lake Garden. So did buyers simply fit on one value proposition? Absolutely not. But because buyers are effectively voting with their money, this matters to me as an investor. One day, I will need to exit. I will need liquidity. When I want to exit, I don't only need a high valuation, I also need an actual buyer who is willing to pay me that price. So your entry price does really matter. I wouldn't want to be paying 100 or 200 PSF higher to the point that the exit quantum becomes too much for people to accept. Now here's another side of the story. Let's take a look at the resale market around Lakeside. You've got developments like Lakefront, Residences, Caspian, Lake Point, Park Vista, Lake Homes, and Lakeshore. Some are already significantly older developments, yet transactions are still happening. And look at the PSF range shown here. Across these projects, we can see prices from roughly at the 700 plus PSF range all the way to the high 1000 plus PSF range. To me, that's actually important because it tells me there's an established resale market around Lakeside. People are willing to buy older condo here, probably for a bigger size, and that can be positive for liquidity, but that also means for Lucerne Grand's future buyer, they also have choices. With such a big gap, I think that's where a lot of buyers will have hesitation to buy over from you at a quantum if that's what you're looking at. Let's take Lakefront Residence for example. The figure shown here indicates transaction at around an average of approximately 1,700 PSF, with some approaching 1,009 PSF. Now imagine several years later from today, I'm trying to sell my Lucerne Grand unit, and let's say I entered around 2,006 plus PSF. My future buyer isn't only comparing my unit against other Lucerne units. They can look across the road. They can look at older resale alternatives. And if these alternatives are still around 1,700 to 2,000 per square feet, we could potentially be talking about a 600 to 900 per square feet gap. On a 1,000 square foot equivalent, that's roughly about 600 to 900,000 of difference. Now, of course, we know Lucerne Grand is newer, the product is different, and it's right beside Lakeside MRT, probably has more value. But imagine yourself as that future buyer. You have two choices in front of you, one potentially causing $700,000 more. So what will make you choose mine? That is the question I need to answer today before I buy. Entry price, unit selection, and exit. And that's why after going through all these numbers, I don't think the right question is Lucerne Grand a group project? It probably can be, But a good development does not automatically make a good investment. For me, it comes down to 3 things: entry price, at what PSF am I entering into and the alternatives around me, then unit selection, which stack am I buying, which floor, which facing, how close am I to the MRT tracks, and most importantly, how much extra am I paying for that supposedly premium unit. Because sometimes the nicest unit isn't necessarily the best investment unit. The best investment can be the unit I paid the least premium for, something my future buyers probably value more. And finally, exit. Who is going to buy this property from me? What alternatives will they have, and at what price will they be willing to buy from me? So Lucerne Grand can have Lakeside MRT, Jurong Lake District can transform exactly as planned, Jurong Lake Gardens can continue to improve, and Lucerne Grand itself can turn out to be a fantastic development. But if you still make a poor investment, if you enter the right project at the wrong price, for me, I would raise this as a marker. And this is what I would want to work out before I commit. Now we come to what I think is the most important question. To decide if Lucerne Grand is a good buy, there are 3 zonings that I will be looking into. The green zone. At this price, I feel I'm getting sufficient margin relative to surrounding alternatives and future exit potential. The amber zone. Still possible, but now I've become more selective about which unit type, stack, facing, and quantum. The red zone. At this point, too much future growth may already be priced into my purchase, and now I need to be increasingly aggressive in my assumptions for my future exit. And that's where I will walk away, then force myself to buy simply because everyone is excited on launch weekend. And my objective isn't, can I afford to buy Lucerne Grand? It is, can I buy Lucerne Grand today and still leave enough upside for my future buyers buying from me? That difference is huge. So do I think Lucerne Grand deserves attention? Definitely. MRT, connectivity, Jurong Lake District, and all this that I have mentioned earlier in my video, that can potentially bring on a stronger, upgrader catchment. But there are also many reasons this development could perform well. And none of this answers the most important question. At what price, which unit should I go ahead and not go ahead? That's exactly what I'm going to break down during my Lucerne Grand webinar. I'm putting Lucerne Grand through my risk marker scorecards. We will look at the surrounding resale markets, historical performance, price gaps, unit types, facing quantum, future competition, and most importantly, your potential exit buyer. And I'll also show you where I think the green, amber, and red zones are. So if you are seriously considering Lucerne Grand, don't walk into the show flat asking which units are still available. Walk in already knowing which units actually makes financial sense. Register for my Lucerne Grand webinar using the link below, or if not, type LG in the comment below to download the risk marker scorecard that I have prepared for you. And then we can decide whether Lucerne Grand deserves a place in your property portfolio. I'll see you inside.